Oh, I'm Mike. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. I see we are live and we are just awaiting one more participant, but I think we're going to get started without her for the meantime. Welcome to everybody. If you are in South Africa or if you're coming in from another part of the world, we welcome you. Sanbonani, as we say in sunny South Africa. It is not so sunny today, though. It is freezing in Johannesburg. I am here. My name is Thobile Chittenden. I am representing the Makers Valley Partnership. And our colleagues and panelists today are Tsitsi and Sarah, who will be joining us shortly, just sorting out her technical difficulties. However, in the meantime, I just wanted to share the theme with you this morning or this afternoon and kind of where we're going with this discussion. And we'll buy a little bit of time before we get Sarah on the line. So our discussion for today is a youth-led community response to the COVID-19 pandemic. As I'm sure you're all aware, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 pandemic on the 11th of March, 2020. And in South Africa, we've just seen thousands of South Africa rally up, unite, youth activists, social entrepreneurs coming together in response to this pandemic. It's been incredible to see the voluntary action, community action geared towards addressing the needs that have come up out of this pandemic as well. We've had to shift our focus, shift our businesses in order to address the needs that this has brought about as well. So today we're going to be speaking to two dynamic young women. I'm really excited to get to know them both, Tsitsi and Sarah, as I've mentioned, and they're going to be sharing a little bit of how they've responded to the drastic health and economic situation that has been thrust upon us. And they'll also share how they've navigated this crisis, how they've had to rethink their organization and actually address the current needs of their communities as well. So yeah, I'm going to get into introducing them. We'll start so long without Sarah. But before we get into Tsitsi's organization, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. As I had mentioned earlier, my name is Thobile Chittenden. I represent the Makers Valley Partnership. And for those of you who don't know Johannesburg well, we are in the Johannesburg East. A lot of people use the landmark of Eastgate, but we are the area of Bertram's, Lawrenceville, Troyville, Bez Valley, and Judithspaal. It's an area in the east of Johannesburg, literally just on the outskirts of the CBD. And we have coined the term the Makers Valley because it is just pumping with young entrepreneurs and change makers all gathering together for a well-being economy. I'm going to share a little bit more about the well-being economy later on, but in its essence, it's all about a local economy working towards adding value to one another's lives. So we see that through social and creative entrepreneurship. But like I've said, a lot of us have had to pivot and address the needs of our immediate surroundings. So I think I've bought a little bit of time there. We're going to go into Tsitsi. Perhaps, Tsitsi, you can just share a little bit about your organization, Fore, and also just share how it all came about, a little bit of your history and your organization as a whole. Tsitsi, are you there? I think there's a little bit of a delay or lag, but I'm sure she's going to come up shortly. Clicking of buttons. I'm going to just quickly...
Can you kindly just repeat the question because it's...
Was it a little bit delayed there? So first of all, I wanted to say welcome, Tsitsi, to our panel discussion. You are the CEO of Fore. I just wanted you to give our audience a little bit of a background into who you are, how Fore came about, and just a little introduction of what your organization has been predominantly about before COVID-19.
Okay. Thank you, Thobile. My name is Tsitsi, as you've introduced, the CEO of Phronesis. Phronesis Students Development Trust is the full name of the organization. I'm coming from an accounting background. I was in the corporate world for a while, and then I started feeding the community of Kayasand, which is at our doorstep in Johannesburg North, close to Fourways area, Cedar area, and the Blue Boat Strand area. So there is a huge informal settlement there, Kayasand and Musawawa as well. So whilst I was working, I used to go there on weekends, cook and feed the kids in the community playground. And then when I was doing that, I had a few youth volunteers that I used to work with. And whilst I was there, a lot of social ills, community issues came up, and that's when I realized the need to actually assist in the community. And it would hurt me because most of the times, the things that were brought to my attention, I would not be able to resolve them at that time. There was just so much need.
I've lost you a little bit, Tsitsi. I think let's just give her 1 minute to come back online. Otherwise, Sarah, I see you there. I'm so excited that you are online. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah,
and the connection is sorted. So I think while Tsitsi is she also lagging for you? She frozen right. Okay. Yeah. So while she comes back online, I think let's then get into your organization. I really resonated. We had a little bit of an intro before this, but I really resonated with what you're doing in Davidson, because it's so similar to what we're doing as well in the Makers Valley Partnership. But yeah, please share a little bit about your story. How did your organization, Rudo Institute, come about? The name, I love, especially the story of how it founded, and then also the organization, the premise of it before COVID-19 hit.
Okay. So Sarah Madingwana, I am from Davidson, and Davidson is a township situated in the east of Johannesburg, right? So Davidson is a place that taught me very early that the world holds no place for self-pity. I've had to carry my family at a very young age, living with my father who is blind and my younger brother who has become my prime responsibility. So my history taught me very important lessons, to pick myself up, to swallow my tears, and to get on with life. And what is life really about? Life isn't really about avoiding the bruises. It's about collecting those scars to prove that we showed up for it, And for me, this means changing the dynamics of what townships are relatively known for, which is crime, drugs, violence against women and children, and even poverty, So I'm the founder of Rudo Institute. And at Rudo Institute, we believe in a world where everyone has equal access to affordable vocational, technical, and higher education. But the reality right now is that Ekurhuleni is like the 4th largest municipality in South Africa with a population of over 3 million people. But only 38% of them have grade 12 and only 11% have higher education. So that's how we as Rudo Institute actually wanting to bridge this gap, So part of the reason why we also started Rudo Institute was because we were tired of having to take 3 taxis just to get to college or university, being stuck in metro rail trains just to get to town to submit an application, We were tired of begging, of borrowing, and being vulnerable, So we were like, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to bring the resources to where people are. So we have co-working space for members of our community. We've established about 14 libraries so far. We've planted about 120 fruit trees in schools in Ekurhuleni, and we train youth in business development. So I could say that we've impacted about over 2,000 people so far. And that's why we started the initiative. And Rudo basically means love. We choose love. So it means love in Shona. And what we're doing is we believe that our entire purpose is to be loved, to show love. So we're doing that through the work that we do with Rudo Institute. We're co-creating, we're just spreading love, essentially. Yeah.
Amazing, Sarah. I love that. I love.
Yeah,
and yes.
And with regards to the needs of our community and how we were able to find to do this, so we did research and we did surveys. We found that there were a lot of informal traders in our community. There were a lot of unemployed youth, and because they were informal traders and entrepreneurs, they weren't compliant, so they weren't formal, which means that they can't have access to funding, so that limits them in that sense. And then we also did research and we found that there was a direct link, between an educated person and the success thereof of that particular person, So the more educated a person is, the more informed and better decisions they're able to make, and the more opportunities open up, So our role was to ensure that youth are educated and they have access to opportunities of development as well as resources. So we provide a very supportive environment which inspires hope, leadership, and purpose. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to stop you there, but that was such an incredible introduction. I'm pumped because I really resonate with your community. Our community sounds very similar in terms of the fact that 44% of the Makers Valley is also between the age of 18 and 35 years old. So a huge youth population. And as you're saying, there is this link between education and success. And even specifically for us, we've really thought about how can we develop entrepreneurship, because we see that that is a hand up instead of a handout. And I feel like the youth of our community prefer that. They really want to be empowered and have a sense of ownership in their community. So if they can be a real stakeholder and player in our community, it really just changes the way they interact in this local economy, as I've mentioned before. And this thing of love is brilliant, because at the end of the day, that should be our motive. And it's also our motive as the well-being economy, is how can we ensure that everyone is added value, where we actually focus on people and the planet before the profit of our businesses. So I really, really resonate with that. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. And yeah, Tsitsi, I think let's go back into you and your organization. I think, as Sarah was mentioning, the way we respond to life is critical, and it's something that we will remember for the rest of our lives. Our lives, as we've seen this year, are uncertain. Things can come at us. So I think as you're going into your section, Tsitsi, I think if you can continue your introduction, but then share with us how your organization, Phronesis, has had to pivot and shift and respond to the needs of the community because of this pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Thobile. As I was just saying before I got cut, when we were working in the community, I was working with a lot of youth. So these youth were unemployed, and no opportunities came their way as well, because it being an informal settlement, communication, there's no TVs. Most of them don't have TVs. Some of them have radios, but there is no electricity as well, formal electricity to connect those services. So I also saw a need for youth development. Hence, now we doing youth development and early childhood development. So on our early childhood development program, we are actually working very hard to create an environment, an ECD that is all inclusive for underprivileged children. So we're bringing quality education to their doorstep. So our ECD is from 4 years old up to grade 3. Okay, all our teachers, our volunteers are all youth. Like, it's 100% youth run. So they are doing a great job. And then we also have our drive, where we quarterly give the young ladies in the community dignity packs and sanitary packs as well. And then we also have a maternity drive that also we give the young people and also some underprivileged women in the community preparation for them to be to have something for the kids when they come, because we've had issues where someone gives birth and then by the time they let us know that they need preparation, it's going to take us 2 days or 3 days to get everything they need to them. So we're just being proactive about it, and we're giving them the prep before the child even comes. And then at our early childhood development, we're doing food and nutrition as well. And then we're teaching a lot of vegetable garden, where we're teaching the children the importance of food security. So we're teaching them like from the seed to the planting to taking care of the seed, and like we're sort of like creating young farmers, like little farmers, and we're also teaching them that, okay, this is where it starts, this is how much you have, and you can actually sell it and make a living out of it. And then some of the food from harvested from the vegetable garden we use in our soup kitchen, which we feed our children primarily at our ECD, which are about 157 at the moment. And then after COVID came, we had to change. It was like, yeah, like if someone had told me about this like a week before, a month before it came, we wouldn't believe that we were going to go through this. So we had to close our ECD and send the children home. But then our center, our ECD and community center is in the middle of the community, so it's a walking distance to all their homes. So what we then decided to do was implement child monitoring and homeschooling support for the parents. So we'd call them in, give them work for their kids for a week, and then they would come after 1 week, and then the teachers would mark the books and tell them how to teach the kids and give them work for a week again. And then we find out like once a week or so, the teacher goes to visit the homes and find out if the child is safe, is the child eating well. Then we have to make provision for food parcels. And then, and then we have to give them food parcels. And then also what happened, the major change that happened to our organization is that we've got about 160 early childhood development beneficiaries, and we've got about 40 youth development beneficiaries. But it all changed because now all the schools were closed. All of a sudden, there was about 1,000 kids that needed to eat every day. There was about plus minus 30,000 community members that are unemployed that needed food aid. So we had to like desperately and aggressively look for support from our local communities, other partner organizations to bring food aid to the community, and also to equip our soup kitchen to be able to feed daily more children than we are doing. So yeah, that was the change that came about with COVID that we had to take on. And also the fact that we cannot meet like a lot like in person. We had to now start venturing into platforms, internet platforms, to meet like your Zoom and like the one that we're using now, to meet with our teachers, our fundraising administrators, and our other youth to strategize on ways to combat this pandemic. And then our youth as well were sent out in numbers to do awareness for our community, like to tell them what is COVID, also to deliver PPE to them, like the face masks through our various organizations that partnered with us, and also the risks and what they must do, what they must not do, the importance of staying at home and all that. So it was a drive that we also did. That's how it changed. So it now moved mostly to feeding the community, because now like survival, helping people stay safe and stay fed. That was what we were doing during the COVID.
Stay safe and stay?
And stay fed. They had to eat.
Fed. Oh, okay. I missed that ending. Oh.
And they had to stay at home to be safe, and then they have to eat, hence the food parcels and various food aid that we'll bring to them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tsitsi. I think, yeah, when we're not speaking, let's just put our mics on mute, because I can see there's a little bit of a background noise. But Tsitsi, that was, yeah, very eye-opening. I think just that basic phrase really, I think a lot of us can actually pick up on that, because stay safe, stay fed, two very basic responses, but most vital and crucial in order for us to overcome this pandemic. So thanks for that. I'm really interested, before we go on to Sarah, understand a little bit more about, first of all, the food kitchen and how that works, because you mentioned that you have your little farmers who are learning how to make these vegetables, and then this actually then feeds into correct me if I'm wrong, this feeds then into the actual food kitchen, those vegetables. So that for me was just interesting. And then after that, you can also maybe also speak about how obviously your ECD was your biggest kind of focus. What has happened to that center, or where the kids have been going? Like, how have you used that space now in response to the pandemic? And maybe, I don't know, you can also elaborate on the funding. How have you been able to make ends meet and meet the needs of the community? Like you're saying, the needs are bigger than ever before. You're having to rely on donations and volunteers, but where is this funding coming from? So those are just 3 little questions in one, Tsitsi. I hope you've got it there. And then, yeah, after your response, we'll go on to Sarah.
Okay, so if I just to repeat, you just asked how are we using our space now that the ECD is closed, there's no children there, and then where are we getting the resources like funding to operate our projects? Okay, so our space, our ECD center, it was not only an ECD center, it became like a safe hub in the community where everyone who needs anything would come there. Like if they don't have clothes, if they don't have food, if even regardless of the COVID. And there is a health post in our community that does door to door and takes care of people who are not feeling well. So when they also when they get to a home where maybe the person is taking medication and they don't have food, they will bring such issues to our attention, and then we have to provide for those community members. So the space now then became a 100% feeding center, like a soup kitchen. Also adhering to the DSD new regulations of 1 meter spacing and you cannot have more than 50 people gathering at the same time. We would call our beneficiaries in smaller numbers, like 20, space them correctly for our dignity drives, our maternity drives. And in the beginning, we were having a slow response from our donations in kind of our food parcels, and we used to make them ourselves and give to the community. So would prioritize like high-risk situations, like maybe a mom has given birth, she doesn't have food and she's got more kids, or the person's not feeling well, until eventually we got a huge donation of up to maybe 4,500 food parcels at one go. And one time we got about 1,000 at one go. Then we became really busy because it now then became an administration center for the door-to-door distribution of all those parcels. And we had to do it fast. We had to do it fast in 1 month. So yeah, that's what we've been doing so far. And then in terms of funding, it's very, very difficult to get funding. We never got like a lot of funding, even before COVID. You know, we have to fundraise our own funds. And then also there's a red tape that we are working in the informal settlement, which is the community at the highest risk of this pandemic. But there are certain red tapes that prevent funding to come to us. So we depend on other organizations like ourselves and a few private donors and 1 or 2 companies. It's not ongoing, but the resources are far less than the need for aid in our communities. So at this time, when we really embraced our social media platforms, we immediately went onto Facebook, and most of the assistance that we got is from our Facebook page. We've got a lovely lady who manages it for us, and she posts and posts and posts, and we repost, we need this, we need that, and we try and post everything that's happening in our community so that the people out there can see the help. And it really worked, because I met almost 100 people, individual community members from the nearing communities that wanted to donate, from as little as 1 team to a lot more than that. Some people would individually even want to buy 50 food parcels, 20 food parcels. So it was a very, very busy time for us. So also transport and logistics of administering that process of collecting the donations, 3-4 donations a day. So you have to collect them quickly, sort them quickly, deliver them quickly because of space as well, you know. We can't afford to keep food in a community where there's no food. You see. So yeah, all that is what I have to say about the funding, the assistance, and the volunteering was actually from in the beginning of the lockdown, because of the strict regulations of people not coming out and unless you've got a permit, okay, made it difficult for community members to actually volunteer. So fortunately enough, we've got a team of youth, like the teachers, they're about 17 at the ECD center, and we've got other youth that we're working with on learnership. So we all have certificates. So we just did the COVID workshops to keep safe, had adequate PPE, and we had a team in place to do all our projects effectively for the community. So we had enough volunteers. The only issue that we had was funding. But yeah, we pulled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That really does. It's a huge operation. That's kind of what I've learned from what you're explaining, what I've seen in our community as well. You have to be flexible and adaptable, responding quickly are all key things that I think we all have in common through our response. So thank you so much for sharing that. It really does make sense that it's a challenge to get funding, but using social media. You mentioned your lady that helps you. We've got a lady, Mama Colleen, who also has really helped us on our social media, sharing the stories of the various people that have been helping, as well as the people that have been benefiting from this pandemic and the response that we have. So it is a really good avenue to use. Speaking of social media, though, I want to go on to Sarah now. Obviously, this digital aspect is being crucial. I think now more than ever, some communities and society as a whole has seen the intense need for connectivity and internet access. And I think for our community, and especially because you also have a similar demographic in terms of these young adults who have now been shut off from access from the actual little internet hub that you might have there. Like Tsitsi was saying, our space has been turned into a kitchen because people can no longer come in because of the restrictions, but we've had to rethink our space. Anyway, so I wanted to get a sense from you, Sarah, what are the challenges that you faced at Ruder Institute, and how have you kind of responded to that? How have you helped your youth navigate this crisis and help them connect in ways that kind of actually also align to the restrictions and the protocol that the government's put in place?
Okay, thank you very much for that, Thobile. So firstly, I just want to say that, COVID really blindsided us. It was so unexpected and it completely changed everyone's reality, So just to explain with regards to my community, like when lockdown started, like the general feeling in my community was that this COVID thing doesn't exist. Like that was the general feeling of everyone in my community, And then lockdown continued and like we're still stuck. We're on lockdown. And then I can tell you now that right now people actually understand the severity of it and they understand that it does exist. People are dying, So they are very much aware of that, And because of that now, COVID is sort of like, it's sort of like people are starting to panic. People are starting to worry, people are also like getting angry with the situation, So we have been operating since level 1 and we had to sort of like now change and fully work as ICT, information and communication technology. And we've had more people come through to our center to ask for help than ever before because of COVID. And now because there were more people coming, we had to sort of like try find ways on how we can manage the whole situation. Having sanitizers, making sure people don't come without masks, social distancing, they need to come once at a time, So how we have been able to help our community. So we helped our locals together with our students to register for the 350 social relief distress grant, because a lot of them don't have internet connection, they don't have cell phones, so they could come to us and then we'd help them register for that 350 grant from the government, And then we've also been helping our students as well as locals register for food parcels from our government as well. And we had also partnered up with a friend of ours, the Harvest Project, to distribute. So we had a feeding scheme that we were running for homeless people in Brakpan. So that was for homeless people, for immigrants. But the biggest thing, I think the most important thing for me, what we have been doing was to ensure that we check in with young people, youth, our students, young people in our community, even below 18 years. We don't ordinarily work with people younger than that age, but it was important to check on their mental health, because a lot of them would come, and because they can't go to school, and for them, school is sort of like an escape, to escape from your own reality, from your own problems. And now if that's taken away from you, where else do you go? They have suicidal thoughts, and now we have to constantly be in communication with them, either maybe checking up on them over the phone to see if they're okay, if their mental state is okay, to just ensure that their spirits are up. How do we empower them? Do we send them SMSs that are uplifting? Do we send them letters to their houses to check if they're okay? Or it's just something to keep their mental health okay. So that's what we have been doing on our end, So that helps with regards to removing the burden and the worry that these young people have, So yeah.
Thank you. Sure. I think a lot of organizations can learn from that, because you guys have a holistic approach. You're not only just attacking or assisting with the food and the hunger that's needed, but the mental health aspect is crucial. And I think you really enlightened me in terms of ways that we can respond in that aspect as well. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah. And I love the fact that you are speaking to all ages, even the younger ones during this time, because like Tsitsi mentioned before, the fact that these learners are no longer in school and they were so reliant on the feeding schemes that were provided to them. How do you incorporate them now into your organization and into your response? So I think, we've also had to look at the younger audience and the ECD sector in terms of our response as well, providing them with food parcels, providing Saturday school as well, dance classes, to help with this mental health issue at the same time. And I think, I'm really inspired at the end of the day by how people are coming together. Volunteers, even in these poorer communities, which we're all in, are not just focused on themselves, but they're saying, actually, I want to help. And that's been just so heartwarming. I think for me and my community, that's been just the highlight, seeing the people that have been part of our programs, entrepreneurs that have gone through incubation programs, have now stepped up to say, hey, I've received help in this aspect, but I want to also provide assistance in this way. Coming to the community kitchens, dicing, chopping, moving things, packing parcels, going door to door. Those things have been so incredible. And I think at the end of the day, this network of partnership is crucial. And I think we've discussed it just now. We're definitely going to collaborate and talk to each other post this conversation. But I just wanted to hear your final thoughts before we give advice. But what is it that you're going to do going forward from here? Because I think one of the things that we've realized is that, yes, we've had to respond immediately to this pandemic, but what is the long-term vision? What is going to be sustainable? And we don't want to create these false senses of expectation or dependence on our organization. We really have this heart of entrepreneurship. And so we're looking at ways that we can empower our community to start developing their own little entrepreneurial ventures, but responding to the needs of the community at the same time. So for example, now we've identified 5 local community kitchens, mamas who are known in their streets, who are going to continue now the food kitchens. So instead of everyone coming to our space at Victoria Yards, they are now going to go and kind of disperse, but into these community kitchens. And these local mamas are going to be set up, hopefully through Nelson Mandela Day initiatives, with a kitchen, and they're going to continue this process going forward. And we see that as a long-term, more sustainable approach. So that's a little little bit of an example of what we're doing. I wanted to hear your thoughts and your ideas of how you're going to continue supporting your community, but what are the long-term kind of solutions that you've come up with? Perhaps we can start with you, Tsitsi.
Thank you, Thobile. What we've realized from this COVID and how we would want to further assist our community members is, okay, looking at the youth that we work with and the youth in the community, the greater communities that we work with, most of them being from disadvantaged backgrounds, they do not have the luxury of IT studies. So I think the most important thing now is to mobilize resources and funding to get like a computer center in the community or at a closer location, like where our offices are to the community. We need to really invest in teaching our youth computers, not only the youth like from up to 18 or 21, but actually starting from our ECD. We've actually gone into a partner. We're actually negotiating a partnership with one organization that is partnered with Microsoft so that they can come and start teaching our grade 1s, 2s, and 3s computers as well. So we're still negotiating that. And then for our youth, it's very, very, very important that they know how to use smart gadgets. They know how to use computers for their work. And I'm sure that skill is what they need for the rest of their life going forward. Even when you're looking for work, where are you going to find it if you don't have access to internet at this point in time? No one is going to start bringing flyers of and telling you where the work is. You'll be stuck there without knowledge. And yeah, if we do this, which is something that we're really looking into, it, empowering our current volunteers and interns and some of the youth that we want to retain in the organization, through IT skills, like we need to have them really like affluent in their computer skills so that we can move with time. And also after realizing the importance of social media networking, of how you can, and it was nice because most people were at home, like maybe half the world was on lockdown. So everyone wanted to see what's happening at all other parts of the world. So hence they would see what this organization is doing, this community is doing, this country is doing, and stuff. So it is a good thing, and it's actually a necessity that our youth must know computers and social media, and electronic gadgets that just can connect to the social media or any internet platform for their development. So yeah, that's how that's our next step in our communities and our organization. Thank you, Thobile.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tsitsi. You're spot on. I mean, I think already skills, specifically because of the fact that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, it's been a skill that has been essential, and I think even more highlighted now. So I'm glad that government, the likes of Microsoft, various organizations are going to be responding to that specific need. And I really am excited to see people in our communities being equipped with the ICT knowledge. Sarah, you've already been playing in that space, but I think, yeah, you can also share kind of where to from here in a nutshell before we share our last words of advice.
Okay, where to from here? We're basically just going to continue to maximize ICT. We're going to run classes for youth as well in our community and other local members with regards to ICT and how to just know how to navigate their ways through that, you know. I think also the biggest thing, we're still going to continue to check up on young people to make sure that their mental health is okay. So we will be running a program here in Ekurhuleni for 400 young people for business development, right? So what we're trying to do right now is trying to find effective ways and ways in which we can be able to roll out this program for the youth whenever we get to level 1 or so. So that's what we're trying to do. We have to put in a lot of money now into sanitizers and masks. So our center is very small. Like, I mean, we're operating from a garage. So our plans now, the next phase of our development is to actually build a higher education institute in our community. So we're trying to find ways on how we can partner up with other stakeholders to grow this initiative. So we just want to build so that there's more space so that people can be able to social distance. So those are like our big plans with regards to our initiative.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you with regards to that. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And I think if I could just add, I mean, I think a lot of what we're saying is there's such a need for the digital aspect. And that's the one side of the coin. However, on the other side, it's also like going back to basics. And I think the pandemic has highlighted for our community the need for food security. And I think our community has responded to gardening and urban farming in such an interesting way. We have a young entrepreneur called Siyabonga. He's got an organization called Growing Communities, and he's part of the Makers Valley Partnership. And he's essentially been mobilizing the community to start using these starter packs or starter kits that he's developed, and then grow their own fruit and veg in their own community, backyard, little stoop. They're small enough to fit into your household. But I think what's exciting about that is people are starting to realize the importance of growing your own food. And we've seen edible street gardens that he's formed in the community, and that's been of such use and such value, especially now during this time. So that's been incredible to see. And then we've also got another initiative, which is around waste and upcycling waste and changing our mindset with regards to that. And so another entrepreneurial venture, their name is Lock. We Love Our City Clean. And they have started a little community swap shop in exchange for food parcels or food relief. And eventually it will become clothing and items that are needed for the household. But we have seen we piloted this last week actually, and such an amazing response of people bringing bags, like massive bags of recyclable waste, coming in and exchanging it for food. And what they've liked about it is that it's been a dignified process. It's not just they're coming into the line and asking for food, but it's been, hey, I've got this to exchange with you, which you need, and you exchanging this with me. And I get to choose now which dry food products I want. I want rice, I want this, I can cook it in my own way that I like it. So that's been really exciting to see. As we've started to wind down our food or soup kitchen, we've picked up on these, the community swap shop, which has really been working well. So that was just me sharing a little bit of what we're doing in terms of the way forward. I see a little comment here by Robin Whitaker, and I really am excited that you're online and watching, Robin. She says, it's so fabulous to see you and Tsitsi in the same room and to meet Sarah. So proud of the remarkable approaches that our SA community, particularly the youth, have taken to COVID. And I think as we wrap up, that's kind of the note that we want to take going in your little responses now, in your summary. But I think I'm proud. I'm proud to be a youth of South Africa, and I'm proud at the response that our youth have taken on towards this pandemic. So, Tsitsi, if you can start, and then Sarah, you can wrap up, and you can also just end off by saying how you, more people watching this, can support your organization going forward.
Okay, thank you, Thobile. What I'd like to actually say to all other grassroots NPOs like myself is that it's tough out there. It's very difficult out there to penetrate into the donor environment, to get donors and sponsors sponsoring monies and stuff to your organization. But one thing I've learned is that you need to think outside the box. You need to move. You need to start, like what Sarah was saying, she's starting from the garage. You need to do something. Like there's one time we like to do admin. We don't have offices. I turned my lounge into an office space for the youth. I took that away from myself and my family, and we were just left to the bedroom. We were doing all the admin and collecting donations and all other things for the school in my lounge, and we connected the few computers that we have. And basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to do something. You need to be aggressive. You need to think, okay, if I'm not getting it, how am I, the need is still there. where am I going to get this money? Where am I going to get these things to be able to serve my community in the way that they want to be served? So networking also helps a lot. Like a lot of networks helps. You get a lot from meeting other people who've been in the industry for long, and also just sharing and watching and seeing how they run their organizations. And it doesn't hurt to try. So I've tried a lot of things. Some don't are not favorable. Some are favorable. So maybe from 10 things I've tried, 2, 3 are promising. But it's just step out of your comfort zone, and don't wait for, like, always wait for aid. Do something. Do something. Whilst you're doing something, you'll meet up with the great things which we're hoping to do very soon. So actually, as an organization, we've got one ongoing fundraising initiative, which is the charity shop that we collect. We do flyers, and using our various social media platforms, we have community members donate the clothes, items from their houses that they don't want. We sell them at very low prices. The proceeds from there we use to buy food at the ECD, which is a high cost, because we have to feed those kids like twice a day. And sometimes some of the kids are actually in situations where if they don't eat at the center, that's all they're going to have. So they probably sleep hungry if you don't feed them at the center. So food is really a huge thing. So our charity shop proceeds go towards our soup kitchen. And then also now we're busy with my team putting together a campaign for adopt a champion and ECD student, where we're going to roll out a campaign for people to partner with our organization to support a child for 380 a month. And we calculated that amount to be the break-even cost of educating a student. So we want to roll it out in the Nelson Mandela season now. So from next week, I'll be talking a lot about it, asking people to help, asking for airtime to market, to advertise, and hopefully, I'm hoping to get people I'm hoping to get people to agree to partner to champion like all 160 children in our center. So yeah, that's another fundraising activity we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we're running over time. So I just want to give Sarah a chance to respond. But while she gets ready, I just want to say there's another comment from Simon Caesar Mason, who's the chairperson of the Makers Valley Partnership and the co-founder. And he says, so excited about possible partnerships beyond Makers Valley neighborhood with like-minded individuals. And that's exactly what we were saying earlier. There's so much to connect on and so many synergies. So I definitely see partnerships going on ahead of this. And Tsitsi, specifically around your ECD, he says sounds interesting. So definitely going to connect on that going forward. Sarah, if you can be 3 minutes, share with us, share with us kind of your last words and how people can support Rudo Institute.
Okay, so just lastly, I just want to say it's very important for us as young people to do things deliberately, consciously, and purposefully. You know, it's important that we are a generation with a different kind of magic altogether, you know. So I think the biggest advice I can give young people is that it's important to ensure that your mental health is intact and that you're good. If it means you need to speak to someone, do that. Don't be ashamed to speak out. There's always someone who has an ear to listen. There's always someone available to help. You know, I think that's very, 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 very important. And to just have a positive outlook, you know, and just believe in the possibilities of what could happen, you know. So with Rudo Institute, people can be able to find us and connect with us on social media. It's Rudo Institute everywhere, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on info@rudoinstitutes.org via email. So that's where they can be able to help us. We're also running a campaign on Back a Buddy platform to raise funds so that we can continue to run these business development programs. So that's how people can be able to assist us.
Absolutely incredible, Sarah. Thank you. And thank you so much to the both of you for joining us today. From my side, I really just want to say thank you to all those in our audience tuning in from the Makers Valley Partnership. We really also would appreciate your assistance with investing towards a community kitchen. Like we mentioned, our approach is really about empowering the people in our community so that they can help others as well. And so the community kitchens are really start of entrepreneurial ventures going forward. So you can visit our website, makersvalley.org.za, and you'll find more information about our initiative, about our COVID-19 response, and about how you can invest and donate to our initiative. But yeah, in a nutshell, I just want to say I really do agree partnerships are key. So if people out there would like to collaborate and partner, please contact Campus Party to get a hold of our contact information, but also visit our websites so that we can deal with you directly and see how we can partner going forward. And yes, power to the youth. I'm so inspired by you guys, so young and